Hello, my name is André Felipe Simões, and I am Associate Professor at University of São Paulo, Brazil. It's a pleasure and an honor to me to participate in the International Workshop on Advances in Clean Energy Production. The name of our paper is The Role of Wind Energy in Brazil in the Context of Mitigating Climate Change. The authors are Letícia Cunha Bonani and Irdan Catarina Medeiros Costa. I am PhD in energy planning, and I also working nowadays as visitant professor at the Climate and Energy College at the University of Melbourne. Some general characteristics of Brazil. Brazil has 26 states and also the federal district, the city of Brasília, and it's also the capital of the country. Brazil has a continental size like other big countries like Australia, China, and United States. In terms of population, Brazil nowadays has around 211 million people. It means 8 times higher than Australian population. In terms of Amazon rainforest territory, Brazil responds for 64%. Other important countries in this issue are Peru, Colombia, Bolivia, and Venezuela. The most important economical activity in Brazil occurs in the southeast region and also in south region. Brazil is known by its historical socioeconomic inequalities and high income concentration. In Brazil, the richest respond for 1%, concentrates the 28.3% of total income in Brazil. Brazil is also recognized for its typically renewable energy metrics and also for the use of deforestation in the Amazonia. Deforestation mainly to convert the soil into livestock and agriculture areas and due to the forest fires. The GDP of Brazil in 2019 was $1.8 trillion. We need to, the humanity has to face a big challenge in next decades. The challenge is to avoid the dramatic consequence of the climate change, the growing of global warming. We need to curb a lot of greenhouse gases. And Brazil's nationally determined contribution, the INDC of Brazil, is to reduce the reduction of the emission of the greenhouse gas in 2025, comparing to 2005, 37%, and another target is to the reduction of 43% in emission in 2030, comparing with 2005, the base year. Main strategy to increase the Brazilian NDC is to restore 12 million hectares of forests, to achieve zero illegal deforestation in the Brazilian Amazon, and to reach 45% in terms of participation of renewable energies in the Brazilian energy metrics. Brazilian GHG emissions correspond to about 2% of total global GHG emissions. It means 2 billion tons of CO2 equivalent. The road is still extremely dependent of fossil fuels. This situation didn't change since the last 45 years. In 2017, for example, prime energy demand is predominantly fossil. About 85% comes from oil, coal, and natural gas. As you can see, last year, 2019, the economical activities is still dependent of oil, natural gas, and coal. Methodology that we used was based in systemic literature review, focusing mainly in the two most recent assessment reports of the IPCC. The Brazilian energy matrix is composed by 6% of fossil and 40% of renewable. It's important to highlight in terms of fossil, the participation of oil, 45%, and in terms of renewable sources, the participation of sugarcane derivatives because of the huge use of ethanol in the transport. Brazilian energy matrix is very different from the road energy matrix because in roads, the participation of renewables is less than 15%. And in Brazil, this number varies between 40 and 45. Wind energy in Brazil has a current installed capacity of 15 gigawatts over 600 wind farms, equivalent to 9.2 of installed energy capacity of the country. Very interesting picture showing the average wind speed in Brazil. As you can see, the best place to implement wind energy farms are Northeast region, as we can see in red color, and also in red color, the Southeast, the South region. Some examples of wind farm installed in Brazil, in Piauí, Northeast region of Brazil, in Ceará, Northeast region in Brazil, and also in the city of Serra do Rio do Rastro, in the state of Santa Catarina, in the South region of Brazil. The largest wind complex in Latin America is planned to be built in Brazil, between the states of Bahia and Piauí. The investment is around 500 million euros. Renewables in Brazil is being used more than renewable to production of electricity, as you can see here. The national electricity matrix is typical of renewable, with emphasis on hydroelectric production, 65%, followed by biomass, 82%, and wind, 60.8%. Solar is not so used until now. Even consider that Brazil receives a lot of energy from the sun, and mainly in Northeast region and Southeast also. As you can see here, the Brazil electricity generation by fuel type between 2000 and 2018. After 2010, Brazil is using more and more fossil fuels to produce electricity, mainly from thermal power, natural gas power plants. It's important to highlight that the participation of renewables in relation to fossil fuels is still moderate, mainly because one of the reasons is the high subsidies to the oil industry in all of the world, mainly in Brazil, important another country, for example, Saudi Arabia. It's still too soon to assess the so dramatic moment the humanity are facing, the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic, if the pandemic will make the human economic activity more or less energy renewable based. In terms of primary energy production, as you can see, this figure in Portuguese, sorry, you can see in the blue line, the growing of the wind energy has appearance of exponentially growing. Compared with other kinds of sources, the growing has a typical linear curve. It's not so difficult to Brazil to achieve the NDC goal of to renewable energy. The goal is to reach 45% in the energy matrix in 2030. It's not so difficult, but some special circumstances of Brazil nowadays can change the situation. This goal can be not so trivial nowadays because the current Brazilian government, the Bolsonaro's administration, is clearly skeptical about the climate change and about science. Research and science in Brazil have received less and less investments. Subsidies to the oil industry in Brazil are still too large. There is a lack in terms of wind technology in Brazil, more in the case of turbine than in the case of wind blades, which makes the country dependent on European Union countries. Brazil can't look only to its renewable energy NDC because it's not so difficult. Brazil can contribute much more, should contribute much more in terms of mitigating of climate change. For example, in improving the investments in wind energy and solar energy, and centrally reducing the deforestation in the Amazon and also in other Brazilian biomes, for example, Atlantic Forest and the Cerrado, a so important region in Brazil, in the Middle West region, in terms of production of grains. Brazil in the future should use more offshore wind energy, using the expertise of accumulated by Petrobras, the main Brazilian Latin American oil company, production of oil and natural gas in deep water. We can hear many voices to inspire us against the so difficult moment. We need to change, still fighting against climate consequence of climate change. We need to listen Martin Luther King and my tribute to Brazilian anthropologist Darcy Ribeiro, who said the Brazilian indigenous people have a lot to teach to the modern society. Our reference and thank you